So welcome, guys, this very large crowd that we have in here. Appreciate you coming. So I'm Emily Wall. I run global ethics and compliance and governance risk compliance ops and tech for Live Nation Entertainment, which is a big title. It's a lot of different things. I'll pepper in some of my stuff as we're going, but I'm facilitating today. Our presentation is about women in technology, and we have 4 distinguished women here joining us on the panel. So I'll give a quick introduction to them and let them give you their backgrounds. We're basically following in the footsteps of Ada Lovelace. She was the daughter of a romantic poet, Lord Byron, and his wife, Anna Isabel Byron. She lived in the early 1800s. Her mathematical talent shone through in her early life, and her skills and interests in machines led to a working relationship with Charles Babbage. Babbage was the inventor of the analytical engine. It was a complicated device that never actually got built, but it resembled the elements of a modern computer. And as a result of her work on the project, Ada is often referred to as the world's first computer programmer. It was her notes on the analytical engine that Alan Turing used as a form of inspiration for his work on the first modern computer in the 40s. So we're going to chat a little bit about women in technology, get to know these ladies here and why they decided to go into a career in technology, and then maybe go into what advice they would give to somebody starting off. So we'll get going with some introductions first, so you'll get to know our panelists. So I'm going to start with you, Alicia Joseph, if you can give them a little bit of a background, what you do now, and maybe what got you interested in technology, and then we can introduce Hannah.
Hey guys, so my name is Alicia Joseph. I'm a senior at Marshall University, majoring in cyber forensics and security. I graduate this fall. So what got me interested in tech, I honestly had done like a career exploration thing for college, and I had walked past the it was digital forensics at the time, but I walked past that table and I thought it sounded really cool, and the major did, at least, because I really love true crime documentaries, and I kind of got into it based off of that, because I was like, well, I can look through phones and recover deleted messages or contacts, and I thought that would be a really cool thing to learn. And then I also thought it would be cool to learn how to do penetration testing.
All right. Hannah. Yeah.
My name is Hannah Carroll. I'm a student at Marshall. I'm a senior, but not graduating this semester, unfortunately. I'm an open source analyst for our 06 program on campus, and then also I'm an intern for Zero Trafficking, also doing open source.
That's cool.
Yeah, very cool.
I'm also the president of Women in Cyber, or Marshall's chapter of Women in Cyber. So.
Yeah. And Jimmy.
Clap, rounds of applause. Gotta hold this real close. My name's Jimmy. I'm on the board for SecureWV here. You've probably seen me run around like crazy. Sorry. What was the question? What do I do now?
What got you interested in technology?
Yep. I worked for a DSL tech support company that was on the job training, and it was way better pay than the previous job I had. And I was like, we'll just give this a go. And it turns out I was actually pretty decent at it. I really like the problem solving aspect of it, and that's what kind of kept me in. And that was probably 10-ish, 12-ish, 13-ish years ago. And I've been in it ever since. Currently, I am a systems administrator for the federal government, and I've been doing that for the past couple of years. I've been in and out of government contracts also. That kind of got my foot in the door here. My undergrad is actually in business administration through West Virginia State University and Institute. Nobody in my family prior to me had gone to college. We didn't have a clue. My poor mom, bless her heart, she was like, here, just go get a paper and like do a thing. And I was like, but that actually kind of served me well, worked my way up. And then I received my master's degree in, what is that called? Technology management from Marshall a couple years ago. That's a super great program. And yeah, so I guess what got me interested in it was just, it was better pay, frankly. And I just enjoyed it. It kind of worked out. And that's where I'm at now.
Francine.
Hi, guys. I'm Francine Hammond. I come with 3 degrees, and basically in electronics, business, and education. My current role right now is a systems instructional systems designer for Live Nation Entertainment. I support the Global Ethics and Compliance Group under Emily's purview. And some of the other roles that I've had that really stand out in my memory is a cyber manager at the FBI Academy at Quantico, Virginia, at the Hogan's Alley. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's a very exciting place. It's something that J. Edgar Hoover had built as the training grounds for all their special agents. And during the day, when we were working, we could see the helicopters go with body parts in it and somebody knocking on. They had like a little town built with facades on the buildings, and like a post office, a movie theater. And some of the guys that were in training were pounding on the doors, open up FBI, all that kind of thing. It was very exciting. And then the other one that was most exciting for me in all my years of this industry was working for, as like Jimmy, I did a lot of federal government contracts in the DC metro area. And one that stands out the most is working for the Pentagon Force Protection Agency. We serviced, we made sure that all the police officers and all the other personnel, there were 600 of them at the Pentagon, had all of their security awareness training on time and making sure that they got the correct training when they needed it. So that, I'll tell you why I really got into this a little bit later in another question, but maybe I have a better story to tell you at that point in time. So thank you very much.
Yep. So feel free if you guys have questions. Oh, I guess I don't need that. If you guys have questions for our panelists as we're going through the conversation, please toss them out. You see, we have a lot of different backgrounds and experience, which is what we tried to do so that we could give you guys a plethora, right, of women in technology. So I'll throw this out to anybody that kind of wants to take it. What's the importance of more women joining the field of technology?
Diversity. And I know we all hear that a lot these days, but it offers, I think, people as individuals and then also different genders offer different perspectives. There's a lot of ways my brain is... everybody's brain works differently. I do think, I think women offer so much more perspective because, I don't know, we can just think about things differently. And there's a funny little annotation that I have with some family members, and it's like, my brain, I have 900 tabs in 14 different browsers open at any given moment. And her husband, my cousin's husband, he has like one at a time. Not to say like he's slower or worse or dumber by any means. He's a very intelligent man. But just, I think there's a multitasking element. I've seen that with women I've worked with. That's the different, I've worked with a lot more men than I have women, frankly, in this business. But that's one of the more notable differences. Yeah, I think that's a huge, because, and I'm thinking like 14 days down the road and they're like on day -2. And I'm like, hey, hold on, I see where this is going. I think that's an advantage. And I think, nope, that's it. I'll stop talking.
Anything to add? Anybody?
So one thing that I thought was important about more women being in the tech industry is just this feeling of belonging in general whenever you see other women in the tech industry, because it's really hard to feel like you belong whenever you don't see other women in the field. I feel like that's something that I've noticed even like coming to conferences and stuff, like it's a majority men. So it's just hard. It's hard if you don't see other women doing the same thing that you are.
Yeah, but it's nice when there's not a line for the bathroom as well, right?
Yeah, I think it's really empowering to have more women because, like, I probably wouldn't be as far as I am right now if I didn't have another woman in this field to like push me farther. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I do a few different things. I run different teams for Live Nation, and on some of the teams, I'm the only woman. Right? I'll get on conference calls with people around the world, and I'm the only woman. And then on other conference calls like environmental social governance, ESG related calls, it's all women, right? And it's completely different dynamic. But I agree with you, Jimmy, that just diversification overall, not just in gender, right? But just backgrounds, cultures, all of that, experiences. Because if you get a room full of people that have the same background, the same culture, you're only going to get so many solutions to problems, right? They're going to come about it in the same way. But if you have people that have different experiences and cultures and backgrounds and whatever, then you're going to come up with some unique.
Everybody's experiences can bring something to the table. Don't ever think for 2 seconds that yours doesn't, like, you can't do that. And if somebody tells you otherwise, they're wrong.
They are wrong.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You can 100% bring anything to the table.
Yep. All right. Anybody have any questions? I will move to my next one if not. Sure.
Did you ever feel like you were the token female in the IT environment? And how did you work past that and know that you were there for your mates, not just, hey, look, there's a female. There's a 100.
Let me tell you, that's pretty hard. I feel like, especially being a Black female, it's like you fit like two little check boxes. They're like,
They're like, oh, we really
it's
like
like,
you.
oh, you're there and
Yeah,
you're
you give us
Black?
2 boxes.
That's
Yeah.
how it feels sometimes. It's really hard for me sometimes to sit and reflect and be like, oh, I actually do belong. That's something that's been very, very hard. Because in a lot of ways, I feel like it's something that people jump to just because they're fitting a diversity box. But then I sit down at the end of the day and look at my qualifications and realize that I'm just as qualified to be there as anybody else.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
I'm just super honest about if I don't know something or if I know something, I'm like, listen, I know this. Like, you have to have, like, I don't know, some confidence with that, right? Like, if I know for sure that I know something, like, I won't back down from it. If I think for a split second that I don't know what I'm doing, I'll be the first person to tell you. It's my understanding that. I start so many sentences out with that. And I'm like, if you want to teach me a different way, great. Love that. Wait, there was more to that. My brain is so
You've been up since what? You had to be here at 6. Yeah. Forgive her.
I think,
Did you ever feel like you're checking the box?
well, that, and you're talking about the merit thing. Like, I'm a more actions speak louder than words too. And I'm like, all right, well, watch me do this. Like, go ahead and underestimate me and see how that works out for you. That kind of thing. Yeah, and don't like put me into like a project manager box because I've had that happen several times. Actually, when you and I worked together, in the same building. Oh, that's what you were.
I was a project manager.
Did you get pushed into that box, Suzette?
I'm nowhere engineer. I think I was checking that.
Yeah, okay,
Mhm.
yeah. I went to, yeah. If that's what you want to do, great, go ahead. It's just not my jam.
What's your favorite part about working in IT or information security? What's your favorite part about it? What do you enjoy most?
Problem solving and the people. The people also go in sometimes my least favorite part also. But if I'm honest, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair. Very fair.
Yeah.
Least favorites, right?
I really like at the end of the day doing a really bang up job, doing an awesome job, and just knowing that, like, man, I fixed it. Like, and I fixed it well and things are running great. Like, that gives me a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah. Anybody else want to answer that?
I'd like to go ahead and go to the next question because it's going to tie in a lot of the things that we've been discussing here, if you don't mind, Emily.
Yeah, and that was the strongest biases for women.
Actually, I think I'm sorry. Why did you go into the field? I actually promised you that I would give you that information, right?
Yeah.
So let me tell you, my reason for going into technology or electronics or whatever it was at the time was really strictly survival and a really great stroke of good luck. At 35, I was a single mom trying to raise the kids still, and no college degree, not even a high school diploma, because I dropped out because my stepfather basically said you can't go to college. Our neighbors wanted to support it and pay for it, and he said no. So I dropped out and got a job, and got married. The whole thing. You heard the story before, I'm sure. But then one day I got a letter from the Department of Labor giving me this great opportunity to go into matriculate in a program at Ohio Institute of Technology. It was electronics program for women. And that was something that I couldn't refuse. So out of the blue, it seemed like just somewhere out of the blue, I got that opportunity. So I went ahead and started the program. And there were 35 of us, I think, in one class at a time. And 1 or 2 of us were females, right? So it goes along with what you guys are saying. I didn't feel like I checked the box. I was still in survival mode, trying to learn new subjects, physics and electricity and all of that. The main focus was studying transistors, how they're made. And that's really the basis of how electronics are put together to make a computer and make these devices that we use so freely today. And what was very interesting to me and still is the fact that it all starts with a grain of desert sand. And that's when I started. And then from that degree program, I went ahead and took a job with IBM in semiconductor manufacturing, where I actually learned a lot more about how these computer chips are made. Then 6 years later, I migrated west to Silicon Valley to Intel, the biggest of all. So I really got a good education. So strictly survival and the need to have some education was why I got into this field. I knew nothing about it. So let me tell you what kept me in the field. That was the 2 companies that I worked for in the semiconductor area. And at Intel, I worked in the factories making the chips and finally migrated over to HR in the training department. And that's when I became the systems administrator for their training and education database. And it was the mainframe at the time. Think about that. So everybody was asking me, give me some reports. I need data. I need a report. So I taught myself how to write SQL to get data out of the database. I mean, then we didn't have it, but then along came this thing called data warehousing. So we put all of our data there, right? Now we can buy tools to help us get those data out and get into a real pretty report. So by virtue of me taking the incentive to teach myself that this new program, this new skill, I had the opportunity to travel worldwide. Sorry, I haven't been using that, have I? Traveling worldwide, teaching Intel employees how to use these new tools. And I was on my own, so I basically could have my own schedule, my own itinerary. Coming from the hills of West Virginia, no background at all in anything except for raising kids and trying to make a living. Then now I'm here. I'm traveling to Asia and getting first class hotels and plane trips, everything. Yeah. And as I saw in foreign countries, probably more so the fact that a woman was up there teaching, especially electronics or anything to do with technology, was like mind-blowing to them. But fortunately for me, they worked for Intel Corporation, so they were required to speak English, and that was the only thing that kept me going. But that was what really kept me going in the business, was not only the subject matter that I was learning and could actually use, but just being able to have the opportunity to travel and all these things too. That's what brought to light for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question.
So do you want to repeat what you said before? Sorry, because I don't think the other panelists got to answer that one. Yeah.
So what I asked was basically, what do you enjoy most about IT, technology, cybersecurity? What made you want to be in it, and what do you enjoy? If it was a little bit different, then why you went in and why you like it now? Well, why do you stay? What's your favorite part about it?
I think I stay because I really like to make a difference. I don't really like working with people, but I like making a difference for them. So that kind of works out.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
So I kind of have a similar thing. Like Hannah and I basically do like a lot of the same things. Like we're in the same internship and same OSIP program. So we both kind of have like the same end goals, I guess, in a lot of ways. But I really do like helping people. I really do enjoy I feel like I like seeing the ending product of what I've learned. Like I love seeing what I can do with my knowledge in technology. I feel like whenever, like I also have a love for the pen testing side of our major, and I love seeing, oh, I can hack this. That part is just really cool to me. So
There's a whole career set in ethical hacking.
You're in the right spot.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, so especially for you students, right? What trends do you see emerging in the tech field over the next 5 years? Because as Francine said, right, she's seen where it how it's grown over her career from mainframes and data warehouses and all that. What do you guys think is is going to be the next tech in 10 years, 15 years?
That was a question I looked at and I was like, I have literally no idea. So I'm not the one to answer that.
we were kind of talking a little bit about this.
You make it up. That's exactly right.
We can think about it.
Hannah and I were talking about this before we came in here because we really didn't know exactly how to answer this question. My mind immediately came to IoT forensics and how that's evolved and how it's being more and more used in forensic investigations. So if you think about it, in old forensic investigations, you only use like phones mostly or laptops, but now we're starting to see watches being used, and also things like smart fridges, Amazon Alexas, and things like that being used in investigations, which is crazy if you think about it. Just because that's something we probably never thought was going to be possible.
Your
back then.
refrigerator's a rat. Right?
Like, you never thought that your refrigerator was going to be a snitch.
Exactly.
But now it is. And it's crazy thinking about how that's going to evolve. Like how smart devices are going to be more and more used. But I think right now there isn't too much information on how to gain forensic images from these like IoT devices just because it's so new. Like some stuff you can, some stuff you can't, but I have a feeling that they're going to be able to get clear forensic images on those.
I think with COVID coming into play, I think a lot of people in IT already knew like remote work was fully a thing. But I think everybody else in other industries have really kind of opened their eyes to be like, oh, wait a minute, we don't necessarily have to have space and facilities costs. Like we can cut down on that or whatever. So I think some of the technologies to make that remote telework kind of life easier will develop further.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else I had too, and I just forgot it.
Well, speaking of the COVID bit, right? So there was a lot of healthcare related technology that had to spur up because of the pandemic. As an example, I was in Mexico City in March, right? And it was still locked down, kind of semi, right? You had to have vaccinations to go to a show, that kind of thing. And we actually had cameras that measured temperature as the crowd came in, because it's crowd control, right? And you don't want to stop and do the little thing and wait for it and all that. So it measures as it goes and it spots out and it like notifies folks. Well, that technology,
It wasn't
needed.
Yeah.
Right? It
Yeah.
wasn't needed. So
Yeah.
it could be that technology grows from necessity, which happens a lot.
Which is-
Sometimes it's innovative, right? And sometimes it's necessity because the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
We need to figure out how to be able to do things again safely.
Kind of
Right.
an adapt and overcome kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the same thing with the working at home model. We had to adapt to that. Every company in the world had to figure out how to keep going,
Mhm.
but without putting people in an office building anymore like we
Yeah.
used to.
Safely keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually a good segue to a question that's not on our list.
I knew that. Totally.
But what do you guys think the future of work is going to look like? Because coming out of the pandemic, right, there's a lot of hybrid. Some companies are putting people back in the offices. Some companies are saying, you know what, we're just going to stay with the work at home model. And some are a little blended. What do you guys think? Like 5 years from now, workforces, like what's that going to look like?
I think a lot of it depends on what industry they're in, which is fair. Like me, I face the public, so like we have to be open to accept clients. But we also we offer 2 telework days a month now, and that wasn't even a thing. Like this might shock some people. Anyway, years and years and years ago, it wasn't that long ago. They still had desktops with Windows 7 on it, and I was like, bruh.
Windows 7.
What are we doing? Yeah. And so I had to do a lot of updating there. And so I think it's that kind of stuff that people, it's like a user adaptation, essentially. Anybody can get used to anything, frankly. People are going to hate it or love it, but usually hate it. But I think it depends on the industry and what your mission and all that jazz is. But I think it could go anywhere, honestly.
Yeah,
And-
I do think it's going to open up a lot of opportunity in the technology field because I work in Los Angeles, but I live here as an example, right? Francine, it doesn't matter where you live in the world, right? You can do your job. Yeah, so you can move to
Francine's over
Cancun if you
over
want
here.
to, and she can still do her job. So I think there's going to be more and more of that, right?
Just brag a little,
Yeah.
Francine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it depends on the ethics of the person, the work ethic. I mean, you can tell.
It's very true.
The person's been working at the company a while. They are always, you can see what their work ethic is like. And, they take that home with them too. Because when I first started working from home, a few years ago, because my role could handle it, I would get up in the morning just early, just ready for work, and just think, what if the boss stops by? I want to make sure I'm working. That was in my mindset. No matter where I am, I'm going to be feeling that way and putting my best foot forward. I still get up. I will work from home for Emily. Emily's in West Virginia as well, but we have colleagues and clients all over the world. And we support them. And so it really doesn't, but I think the technology is going to change the way that we do meetings and things like that, the way we meet face to face. We'll be doing more training each other through in different mediums online. And I don't know what it's going to be, but I think there's got to be better ways than Zoom, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a Zoom exhaustion, right? But that could also be additional tech that comes out is productivity software and or monitoring for remote workers, right? I know. Yeah. Oh yeah, go for it. Sorry. Somebody want to take
The
that?
question was very
Yeah.
softly spoken.
Yes, repeat the question for the room, please.
What are our concerns with privacy issues in regards to productivity software, et cetera, tracking us and our logs and daily tasks getting monitored and that kind of thing? My thought kind of on that is if you're just doing what you're supposed to, it shouldn't be a big deal. Conversely, I don't like people all up in my business, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think because there's bad apples that ruin the whole bunch, we have to kind of have that thing. And I hate that, but my advice on that is honestly just voice your opinion in like a respectful way. And, you know, if you're like, hey, me and my team, like we'll take care of our stuff. Maybe we can slack off on the, like on this. Maybe it'll take you longer to track what you're doing than do the thing you're actually trying to do. So just be honest about your opinions on that. And yeah, if it's a concern, like bring it up.
Yeah. So there are a lot of this is a field that is growing, right? Privacy and technology, right? So if anybody has interest in that, that actually is a subset field, right? Of those making sure that the privacy laws are followed in regard to technology, the Internet of Things, all the stuff you just talked about, Alicia, with the your TV and your all that kind of stuff, and what's it listening and what's it recording and how long is it recording it, where's it going to, and who's it being shared with. So there are several privacy laws around the world. There's a new one rolling out in California that's going to be across the U.S. and there's a whole technology field behind that making it run. So information security and cybersecurity intersect with privacy quite heavily. And that's a whole specialization field that you could get into if you're interested in that kind of thing.
And it could be, sorry, one second. It could even be something as practical, webcam covers. Like I have all my people, all my staff. I'm like, I'm not spying on you. I don't want to, frankly. But cover it up when you're not in a meeting. Like it makes me feel better, it makes them feel better. Like even if something simple as that, like it's, you know.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. That's all. I just wanted to add that.
Yes, sir. You had a question?
I just had a quick snarky comment.
Mm-hmm.
With absolute privacy, you can put those two out of business. They're going, you know, you can't do forensics to get perfect privacy. You can't track it, right?
Yeah, well, it definitely has to be a balance, right? Because as she said, there's always going to be bad apples. So you're always going to have to investigate,
as long as nobody
right?
breaks the law.
Yeah.
And that kind of breaches that contract a little bit.
Well, but there's anything electronic, right, is going to have logs, is going to have tracking, is going to have that. So it's a matter of doing it within the law, but then also having the ability to dig in if need to and investigate when it's warranted. So not just open source, you can go and look at anybody's data at any time, but if there is just cause to go in and look at it and you follow the right procedure, then you can go in and do it. So there has to be constraints, right? And then there has to be a way, because that data is there, to secure and encrypt and protect that data so not anybody can get to it, right? So it's nuanced, but you're right that if it was completely locked down, then there wouldn't be a need for some forensics. But there's always going to be a need because there's always going to be somebody that's breaking the law or doing bad things. So you're going to have to investigate. So, but if your business is doing certain things, if you're in finance or you're processing credit card data, you have to log, right? So, and that's why those mandates are there. So, yeah. All right. Yes.
This may not be the place for the question.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's go for it.
All right, you got somebody else on the panel that government. Then I hear like compliance, policy compliance, something security.
That's
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the latest NIST How do you feel that the policy implementations of that has changed as far as once the report was up? So the report didn't have any policy.
Well, it's that's the way the technology world's going just in general, right? It's what are you collecting from who, for what purpose, where is it stored, where is it transferred? Is it transferred securely, right? Who has access, who's it passed downstream, third parties, fourth parties. So those things were already built into privacy laws before, right? And now it's just getting added to, it's getting tacked on to some stuff that it really should have been tacked on to begin with. So it's really the journey of the data, right? Because it's your personal data, right? The company that you're transacting with don't own that. You own it, but they monetize it on your behalf, right? And they sell it to third parties and whatever. So it's really just balancing that so that you become the steward of your data again.
So, I mean, any ever work out and implementing it throughout the house?
Oh, yeah. Because most companies aren't set up to do that. So you have to re-engineer, you have to restock, you have to redo servers or switch to the cloud if your data centers couldn't handle, the load that's needed to really track the data. You have to do data mapping, which a lot of companies didn't build in from the beginning. Yeah, it's quite complicated. Sorry, did you have a question?
I was wondering what y'all think about how to entice or, hold up your open to more women, particularly young women, what might be some things, even at the high school, college level, to encourage that, but even on the hiring end or.
Great question. Yeah. You're gonna think about it? Yeah.
One thing that I realize whenever I go back and speak to like my old high school, I kind of like to break the stigma of tech, because I feel like the reason why a lot of people don't get into it is because they think that they have to be, for one, really good at coding, and you don't have to be very good at coding to do tech.
I don't know it at all.
Like, honestly, I know how to do it well enough to do my job, but I'm not like super great at it. And that's one of the stigmas that I usually try to break right away. Like, you do not have to, and you also don't have to come in knowing anything about technology, because I feel like a lot of people in our field don't know anything coming into to the intro class, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you don't have to be a tech wizard in order to start the field, and you don't have to be somebody that was super good with tech growing up or anything like that. And you don't have to be good at coding, because I'm kind of average at it, if I'm being honest. But honestly, it is a useful skill to have. I'm not going to say that you're never going to have to do it, because you will. But that's one thing that I always tell them, like, hey, you can be a beginner and come into this. And then I kind of discuss things like the cool stuff that we get to do. That's the flashy part that gets to high schoolers.
Not like a perverted way, but.
I don't want to tell people, oh, I code all day. Tell them the end result of the code. Tell them what you did in order, like what you did with the code, I guess. Because I feel like once they see what they can do with the code, I feel like that's what makes code a little bit more interesting for me. Like, seeing what I can do with it more so than the process of doing it.
I think, like you had said, you don't have to have any experience going into this. Because I'm a first generation student. I never took a computer class in my life until I went to Marshall. And I didn't know anything about any of it. And I feel like I'm pretty successful. And I think it's really important to share success stories and everything like that. So just empower them, definitely reach out to them and everything, because they might not want to do it.
Yeah, I really like that you said you were going and speaking to your high school. I think that's,
that in and of itself.
yeah, exactly.
Kind of on her note of you don't have to really know anything. Ask all the questions. I still ask all the questions every day. Encourage them to do that, and just kind of don't put anybody in. It's really hard to teach society to not do that. So I think the more we conversate about it and just keep having that conversation over and over again until it happens. Give them my email. I'll chat with them all day. I don't care. Talking to high schools is great. I tried to get a bunch of 12-year-olds to come to this. I was like, guys, I know it's super nerdy, but it could be fun. I was like, there's stickers, blah, blah, blah. It didn't go well. And plus they have school, but whatever. And I'm a big fan of they'll ask me something. If I don't know, I'm like, hang on, I don't know, but let me research that, or reach out to somebody I know and let them, I'm gonna send them her way 110% now, now that we've met. Yeah.
To that, I'll just add a couple of notes. I'm living proof that you don't need to be knowledgeable in anything to start out in this field, and you learn as you go. But I think the main thing is to be yourself. Don't try to be one of the boys or one of the girls. Just be yourself. Make sure you network with those who do know things. Stay in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
Share ideas, whether it's in forums or one-on-ones, whatever the case may be. But stay in touch. Also remain knowledgeable. Not that you need to do anything about it, but just, the latest buzzwords, the things that are going on in the world, just so you can, answer a question or two, just so you're seen that way, so you're perceived as knowledgeable. Remain marketable. Keep yourself always, this was some good advice that Andy Grove from Intel Corporation gave me personally, and I was in a training room with him. Always make yourself marketable. Make sure your resume is up to date. Use the right jargon, the right current information on it. Stay current in everything, even your looks, the way you dress, all those things. Just don't act or be seen as a person who is uncaring or unkempt. Just keep yourself, up to date. And document all your ideas. If you've got an idea, don't just tell everybody. Document this first, and then let's try it out. Let's, share it with others.
Trademark. Yes, sir.
Teach at a community college, and I work with high school students, students to recruit them into our cybersecurity program. Where I start the communication is to grab their interest with that. How many of you are gamers, or how many are into animation and stuff? But how do I get comfort to communicate with the women as well? Because most of the time when I ask a question, I see only men raising their hands because they are gamers. I know there are female gamers, and I have friends who play games and stuff, but I don't know how to start that conversation and get their interest. So what do you guys talk about?
One of you guys.
Do an improv class.
That's what I do. I show them the
That kind of thing.
keypad and be like, how do I unlock this? I give them a scenario and stuff, but the initial conversation is grab the interest. So what is your perspective when you go into a classroom to talk to the high school students to grab their interest?
I think one thing in middle school, I had someone, and I know this is more of an open source thing, but they had a presentation where they showed like how much information they can pull from social media, which is a really big deal for all of us. So that was
that's
really
a good
interesting.
suggestion.
Yeah, it definitely caught my attention.
Seem to like that.
Yeah, that's make it so that it impacts them directly. All right, we are right at time. Any Shazam. So any closing remarks or anything that you would like to leave the audience with as a advice that you would give yourself if you were just starting out in technology? Let's wrap with that.
Okay, so the first thing that I would say to myself is to not be intimidated whenever you're the only girl in the room. Like, I feel like it's just weird whenever you walk into the room sometimes and you're the only girl and then I'm the only Black girl. So you kind of start to question your sense of belonging sometimes. But like I said before, now it's not as big of a deal for me. I know that I belong in the room with everybody else. Don't feel like, I would also tell myself to not feel like I don't belong, because I feel like a lot of times too, when you're a woman in technology, people don't really think that you know as much as a man. That is the biggest pet peeve for me. Like, whenever they think that you can't do your job or you're not as qualified as somebody who ran through the same major, same qualifications, you're just a female.
If not more.
And they talk to you as if you know nothing.
Don't talk to people like
So-
that. That's all advice if you're doing that.
Yes,
be doing
don't do
to
that.
anybody. Woman to woman, man to woman, I don't care. Stop doing it. But you gotta be
And-
confident.
Try being confident, showing them that you do know. It's unfortunate that we have to do that, but showing them that you do know what you're talking about, that you do belong, that you do know just as much or more than your male counterpart. And honestly, just staying confident whenever you know that, like, this is a male dominated field and it has been for a while. Just know that, like, we're trying to break the barrier and everything right now, but
I just
to
do
stay
the thing.
confident.
Just do the
I
thing.
just got things to ask that too.
Sorry. I get excited. Like,
Thank you, Felicia, for saying that, how you feel as a Black woman or any woman in the tech field. I have some of the same kind of feelings about ageism as an older or older woman in the field. I sometimes feel, as Felicia does, same feelings, only a different, just kind of a different bias, if you will. So it's there, folks. It's the gendered ageism is relevant in today's world. In fact, it's the biggest bias in the tech field right now that there is, including the salary gap between the females and the males. That still exists too. But just when we're all together in this room today and saying, telling you some of the things that we went through and some of the things we learned and the good things and some of the other things too. Let's all remember, we're all humans, first of all, and we look at each other. You bring this, we're a team. We're really a team. We say, well, your strength is this and yours is that. Look at somebody and say, well, the color of their skin or their age is that's not an issue. That's not an important thing. And I've learned through the years to just, step up to the plate, do the work, forget about everything else, and just love what you do and do what you love. That's it.
All right. Yeah. And with that, I'm going to wrap. Thanks to 304 Geeks. Appreciate it.
This talk was a part of our 2022 Secure West Virginia Lucky 13 conference. If you would like more information about this talk or our speaker, check the description below. And if you enjoyed the content, consider liking and sharing this video. For more information on Secure West Virginia, or you want to stay updated with the latest upcoming events, follow us on Twitter at SecureWVCon or visit our website, securewv.org. We would also like to thank our 2022 sponsors for being a huge part of Lucky 13's success.